I apologize for how messy and discombobulated this video I'm sure is going to end up being, but I've been wanting to just discuss this and express myself about this topic for quite some time, and so what better way to do it now, because I can kind of kill two birds with one stone with this video. So for one, I can kind of discuss, obviously, the topic of the video that you see, why I no longer consider myself anti-woke, or why I left the anti-woke community, or whatever it is I end up calling this video. And also why me and my friends, Liberal Rebound, go ahead and go follow him on BlueSky, why we decided to create Liberal Republic. And what that means, what exactly it is that we're combating, what it is exactly that we're standing up for. And so I guess those are two things that I can discuss in this video. And I have some notes here on my side that I wrote down that I can kind of look over and let me give you some very quick background information on me. I've always been, I've always been a political person, but I'd say lowercase p for maybe the first half of my life, I want to say. And the reason I say lowercase p is because I've always been attuned to the world of politics. I've always had a vague idea of what was going on, but that was largely because I viewed politics more so as entertainment than anything. I had a friend growing up. He's still my friend, actually. I shouldn't say had. He's still my friend, but I used to be much closer to him growing up. He lived just across the street from me, and he was older than me, and he always was a lot more political than I was, and he'd introduce me to, the political memes back then, right? So the funny videos of George Bush getting a shoe thrown at him. He introduced me to this YouTube channel. Actually, I would probably also kind of point towards this YouTube channel as one of the little dominoes that led me to becoming the political person that I am today. This YouTube channel called Jib Jab, which nowadays they're still in, they're still going, but they're an e-card kind of company now. But back then, Jib Jab was this YouTube channel. They also had their website, I believe, but I knew of them through their YouTube channel, in which they would make political music videos, funny political music videos. Most notably, they would have this series called Year in Review, in which at the end of every year, starting from 2005, they would make a music video making fun of all the biggest political events that occurred during that year. So the 2005 one, it was George Bush, singing about whatever was going on in 2005 at the time. And then they don't do those things anymore, but that was kind of the little domino, right? But back then, I just kind of viewed those videos as funny, and I had a vague idea of what was going on. I wasn't a serious political person, obviously not. I was like, how old was I when I was like 10, 11, 12? I wasn't Jaden Smith or anything like that, pretending like I was having these deep philosophical conversations about the nature of the world. I was just some kid who had a friend that showed me these videos, and I thought they were funny. I didn't start getting political, slowly turning into a capital P, until around high school. And it first manifested itself because I was kind of going through a deconversion phase in my life. And I was raised Catholic, and I was pretty religious, confirmed Christian and everything. But around I want to say, I kind of started looking into the whole new atheist movement around my junior year in high school. Even though I always considered myself a religious person, I was never actually, I don't think I would have ever called myself a believer, genuinely speaking. I think if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me whether or not I believe in God, and I guess you hooked me up to this insanely accurate lie detector test or whatever, I'd say no. But I wanted to believe, and it wasn't until the new atheist movement came along that I started looking into the arguments of people like Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, as well as the opposition like William Lane Craig and Frank Turek, that I came to realize and accept myself as an atheist. And because there was large overlap between the new atheist movement back then and what would now be considered the anti-woke community, I also started getting more and more invested within the realm of politics, specifically the culture war. And so by the time I was a senior in high school, slowly going off into college, that was my identity, I guess. I was an anti-woke atheist. And while I'm still an atheist today, I don't think I can consider myself anti-woke. Let me explain. Back then, my concerns with what would now be considered wokeness stemmed from a concern, specifically, I guess, like an epistemological concern, specifically within the sociology departments, an epistemological concern that you don't generally see within the hard sciences. And I still hold that belief. I'm still concerned with the popularity of a particular strands of postmodern thought. I still believe those things. I'm still concerned about those things. However, in terms of being concerned about, this kind of stuff, which would be viewed as far left beliefs, progressive left, woke, whatever you want to call it, the concern between that and then the concern between the far right or Trumpism, whatever it is that you want to call it, the center of mass there in that equation has drastically changed. I am so much more concerned about the right than I am about the left, and it's not even close anymore. And the reason why I no longer consider myself anti-woke is because for every 100 people that you find that consider themselves anti-woke, only about 2 of them are reasonable. Only about 2 of them would be someone like John McWhorter or Sam Harris. The rest are going to be like people like Candace Owens or James Lindsay, these insane people. When Trump first came onto the scene, I was concerned about Trump. Almost everyone was back then. Even someone like Ben Shapiro was concerned about Trump. Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, I think they both posted something about never voting Trump because, for one, he wasn't particularly conservative, but 2, also what he represented, right? What type of right-wing populist attitude did he represent within the United States that is incongruent with what Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh or any of these other people kind of portrayed the United States as being? And I agree. However, they no longer agree. Now they're once they kind of saw the direction in which their fan base was going and saw that there wasn't really any points or anything fruitful to make the claim that January 6th was a horrible event in our history anymore. They said, well, it's actually not that big of a deal. I was just kidding back then. I've changed my mind, wherever it may be. But I didn't change my mind. If anything, I actually grew even more convicted that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to democracy that we have. I think one of the big problems now is trying to define what wokeness really is. It's really difficult to define because so many people have different conceptions about what that actually means. It's funny because you can find a clip of someone like James Lindsay on Dr. Phil give this insanely convoluted description of what it is to be woke, as if that's the definition that everybody who considers himself anti-woke is going to be able to rattle off at the top of their heads. That's just not how it works. That's just not the case. For a lot of people, being woke just means being a part of the LGBT community and advocating for that. I never thought that. I don't think that now. I think that's pretty insane to believe that somehow advocating for gay rights or trans rights is considered to be woke is, to me, insane. And so already we have a difference of thought, right? Someone like Ben Shapiro is going to disagree with me on what I consider to be woke. My only concern when it comes to wokeness or whatever it may be, back in 2015, I would have said something along the lines of, people seeing racism where there is none, people always crying and complaining about, this country being bigoted when really things are better than they ever were before, and they're making things worse. And to a large extent, again, I still agree with that description. However, the right has gotten so far right. There's this meme that they like to point out, and it was I think it was Colin Wright who first introduced it. Who I've spoken with and I used to be friendly with. I haven't spoken with him recently. I haven't spoken with him in years actually, but I certainly disagree with his stance now, and I don't associate with him. Not because I'm trying to cancel him, but just because I don't have Twitter anymore. So it's difficult. It's a little difficult to interact with him now, but. He made this meme where it was like the left getting farther and farther left, and so that's what's driving people to the right. I think that's erroneous now. I think maybe in 2015 or 2016, 2017, that would have been the case. I think now it's the exact opposite. I think the pendulum has swung in the other direction completely, where people are completely being okay with what it is that the Republicans are doing, the insanity that they're doing, and they're destroying this country. But any little tiny thing that the Democratic Party does, they'll amplify that, and they'll make it seem like it's the worst thing in the world. And I'll give you guys examples in a bit right now. Right now, what the Republican Party has become is the party of Trump. Anything that Trump says or does, that's what the Republican Party is going to adhere to. There is no equivalent on the Democratic Party. So I think the first issue is the fact that it's not that the Democrats are this crazy woke party, it's that the Republicans have convinced these anti-woke people that the Democrats are this evil woke party. That's the issue. And I've noticed that every anti-woke person, or sorry, I shouldn't say every, I shouldn't be so absolutist. Most anti-woke people that I've come across are, to put it in the most respectful manner, to put it in the most respectful manner possibly, and I mean that genuinely, I don't mean that as a backhanded statement, I think they're low information voters. I just don't think they know that much. Every single anti-woke person that I've come across and who's regaled me with their thesis on why the Democratic Party is evil, none of them know about the fake elector plot. None of them know about the Fox Dominion lawsuit. And these are people who claim that they're free thinkers. These are people who claim that they listen to the other side, but that the other side doesn't listen to them. And that's just not the case. I think that's just part of their identity. Part of the anti-woke identity is believing that you have this newfound knowledge that no one else does. It's believing that you're a free thinker. It's believing that you're the only side that's actually listening to the other side and that you want civil discourse. And that's just not the case. And I think it was true 2015, 2016, as I said. I think it's just not true anymore. I think the pendulum has swung in the other direction. And now the party that is intolerant to oppositional viewpoints, the party that is intolerant to anyone that even thinks slightly left of them, is the right. These are the people who have completely capitulated to what Donald Trump stands for and to Donald Trump himself, and that they've lost sight of what it was that they were originally stood for at the very beginning, originally standing for humanity. When Elon Musk says that he loves humanity, he doesn't show it in his actions. He doesn't show it in the way in which he expresses his viewpoints. All he is a shitposter. And it'd be one thing if it was just him expressing views that I don't agree with, but it's another thing when he effectively becomes the George Soros that he was originally complaining about nonstop. Everything that he accuses the Democratic Party of doing in terms of being the party of billionaires, he is that. The Republican Party is that. And people seem to forget this. People seem to believe that Donald Trump is going to come here and drain the swamp of all these corrupt politicians, not realizing the type of person that he was before the presidency, not realizing the type of person that he was when he was on The Apprentice, not realizing that if there is a swamp to be drained, he would be a part of the swamp. He would be a part of the muck that is being drained. People don't seem to realize that because they're completely enamored by his anti-establishment, right-wing populist rhetoric that he espouses. One of the things that they would complain about, and I would agree with, I would agree with the likes of Steven Pinker or Hans Rosling when they wrote about how mainstream media, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, what they do and what they benefit off of financially is outrage. I agree, and that was my big concern with them. That still is a concern that I have with them. But alternative media, the Tim Pools, the Joe Rogans of the world, they've turned into the same exact monster that they originally claimed that they were trying to slay. They are outrage machines. That's all they do. All they do is complain about how evil the Democrats are without even realizing how evil they can sometimes come across as well, not realizing any of the faults or admitting any of the faults that the Republicans are doing. So, for example, the Republicans go on and on about how the Democrats just want open borders. They don't actually care about immigration. They want everyone to come in so that way they can gain votes. This is a lie. It's just a lie. It's not true. And so many people, so many anti-woke people that I've encountered online, in person, they all make the same claim. The Democrats just want open borders. They don't care about immigration. And when I tell them about the bill that the Democrats did try to pass, that was originally criticized as being a secret Ukraine bill, and so they had to reintroduce it, they don't know about any of that. They don't know that Donald Trump, and the reason why it was blocked by the Republicans because Donald Trump told them to block it so that way he could have something to run on in 2024 when he's trying to run for president. That actually happened, and you can look it up right here. And that's why when Tim Walz brought it up in his debate against J.D. Vance immediately changed the subject because it's true. It is true. Now, it's one thing if you want to say, like, if you want to make the claim that, well, the Republicans are still stronger in immigration than the Democrats are. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But you need to understand that that is a wildly different reality than the one that was being sold by Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Every single anti-woke person that I've encountered can't really articulate the problems that occur within the Republican Party, and there are many. They'll say that there are. They'll say, yeah, look, the Republicans, the Democrats, neither are perfect, but look at how evil the Democrats are. Look at everything that they're doing. They just want to make your kids trans. They just want to make sure that every immigrant comes into this country. This is not a matter of a difference of opinion. This is a matter of incorrect information about what's going on in the country. A lot of these anti-woke people will just roll their eyes whenever you mention the fact that Donald Trump tried to steal the election. They'll say that's just not the case. That's stupid propaganda. That's just a liberal conspiracy theory. Didn't you see that Donald Trump told people to protest quietly? And then when you ask them about the fake elector plot, they're confused. They don't know about it. The fact is that Donald Trump did try to steal the election. Him and his team hired people so they can pose as fake elector slates, so they can overturn the vote in key swing states and throw out the elector slates that went for Joe Biden and keep the ones that went for him, or the fake ones that went for him. It's pure insanity that this happened, and there's no equivalent of this on the Democratic side. There is no equivalence of this on the Democratic side. I want to make that abundantly clear. A lot of people I know are typing or thinking about typing, possibly, I don't know how many people are going to watch this video, saying like, oh, both parties are corrupt. This happens all the time. We just don't know about it. Well, we do know about it for a matter of fact in one instance, because they admitted it in court, and their argument is not that they didn't do it. Their argument is that they should have been allowed to because it resides within the core constitutional powers of the presidency. That hasn't fucking happened on the Democratic side. That's insane that it happened, and the fact that no one knows about it is fucking bonkers. Instead, what they do is they'll point to the fact that Kamala Harris was installed as the nominee once Joe Biden dropped out, and that goes against the will. That goes against the will of the people. But this is nowhere near the same thing. I mean, for one, it comes from a complete misunderstanding of what political parties are. Political parties are effectively just bigger tent interest groups. They're not actually part of the government in the sense that people would expect them to be, in a way that would make this seem like this is tyrannical or anti-democratic. The democratic process comes in terms of like when people actually vote for the person that they want to run for, that they want to run this country. That is wildly different than what the Republicans have done. What the Republicans did in terms of the fake elector slate is astronomically worse than what the Democrats allegedly did by installing Kamala Harris as the nominee when Joe Biden dropped out. It's not even close. It's not even close. And anyone who argues that it is close, or that somehow the Democratic side is worse in this instance, that doesn't come from a byproduct of like an actual legitimate opinion. That's just from misunderstanding what political parties are. And that was one of the reasons why me and my friend decided to start Liberal Republic, because one, I mean, it's twofold. One, obviously, we're going against the illiberalism that we believe that Donald Trump stands for, what he represents. But another one is to explain these civic issues to people. Donald Trump is not the antidote to wokeness. Donald Trump is a bigger problem. Donald Trump is woke, but he's just a right-wing wokester. I mean, just look at who's actually in Congress. Look at who's actually within the government. I mean, just look at someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's an actual U.S. representative. There's no equivalent to Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Democratic side. You can complain and moan about AOC all you want. She is nowhere near as insane as Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not a fan of AOC. I don't like AOC. But I would pick her over Marjorie Taylor Greene any day of the week. It's not even close. I'd pick her over Ted Cruz any day of the week. It's not even close. What we are effectively seeing from the anti-woke community is a complete sane-washing of the Republican Party. And a lot of this stems from the fact that they simply don't know how evil the Republicans have become. What we're dealing with now is the party of Trump just bestowing so much disinformation, so much misinformation upon their constituents, to the point where we have half the country now believing a completely distorted understanding of what the Democratic Party is, what the United States is, what the United States stands for. The whole reason, again, as I said, I already warned you guys this was going to be a very discombobulated video, but this is part of the reason why we started Liberal Republic, is because the founding values of the United States, what we stand for, what the Constitution stands for, what liberalism is, the liberal Enlightenment philosophy that inspired so many founding fathers like James Madison, like George Washington, like Thomas Jefferson. Those are nowhere to be found within the Republican Party. They're nowhere to be found within the party of Trump. And I like to be optimistic. I like to believe that so many people on the anti-woke side, people who I used to respect, like Sarah Hyder, I mean, just look at this tweet that just makes no sense. That is, like, really, this is the most corrupt thing that you've seen occur in politics? You either must not be paying attention, or the way in which you weigh the issues of our time is a complete miscalculation. It's just completely miscalculated. But this is why we started Liberal Republic. Is because we legitimately, unironically, love what the United States stands for. We recognize that the founding fathers weren't perfect. They were a product of their time, and they didn't live up to the values that they espoused. but we believe that the liberal Enlightenment philosophy that inspired the United States is the most impressive, most articulate, and the most powerful philosophy that could inspire any nation to come into existence. And that's why I am passionate about this. That's why I'm so passionately against Donald Trump, and why I don't, going back to the title of this video, why I don't consider myself anti-woke anymore. The reason why I was anti-woke, or part of it, was because I saw a lot of people hating the United States. I get it. There are a lot of issues that still exist within this country, but those issues are getting better. We're getting better at it. We're getting better at talking to the people that sit next to us. We're getting better at talking to the people who think differently than us, who have different philosophies, different religious beliefs, different backgrounds than us. And Donald Trump just set us back so much farther back. We have a situation where there's an infestation of roaches inside the hen house. And the coyotes perusing the house have convinced the hens that the roaches are actually foxes. I promise you that the roaches aren't anywhere near as dangerous as the coyotes. And the anti-woke community just doesn't recognize this. It doesn't understand this. I think it's safe to say that I'm probably not anti-woke at this point. I still hold the same beliefs that by and large, I'm sure I've changed quite a bit. I should say, actually, I should be very careful. I'm sure I've changed since 2015. Again, I was in high school in 2015, but I haven't had like this huge turnaround or anything like that. I think the only thing that's happened is that the right has just gotten so much farther right, and the anti-woke community has followed them. And they followed them because they're under the impression that it's the left that's actually gotten much farther left. The Democrats didn't lose because they're the party of woke, because people are tired of wokeness. The Democrats lost because the Republicans convinced people that they're the party of wokeness. That's what happened. Yeah, so anyways, that's why we started Liberal Republic. Follow us, guys. Again, it's liberalism not in the progressive sense. We like capitalism. We like democracy. We're a pretty big fan of the Enlightenment. We're a pretty big fan of people like John Locke and James Madison and Thomas Jefferson. We think they're all pretty cool. And so if you think those things are cool, or even if you hate those things, but you're still interested in and wanting to converse with people who disagree with you, and maybe at the end of the day, hold your convictions stronger because you destroyed us in a debate, well, by all means, go for it. I hope everyone has a great day. I hope you all... Yeah, I don't know how to end these videos. I apologize. I don't know how to end this, so in the same way that I didn't know how to start this, I don't know how to end this. I'm just going to leave it at that. Everyone have a great day. Love you all. Goodbye.